Good day, everyone. Once again, my name is Isaka Abdullahi, um, front-end mentor, and I'm using this opportunity to welcome you to another tutorial in which we are going to be discussing about Flexbox. I believe most of you could have, in one way or the other, had flex, or people saying, I use the Flexbox method now. So today, and I'm going to build on the previous tutorial. It's just going to be introductory and for a beginner. So we know about we know that in our web page we usually have layouts. We usually have layouts like almost all the web page. If you are seeing this one, I'm hovering on this header. Why what all these part are their body. So our layout consists of our header, body, sidebar, footer. Those are the basis of our HTML layout. So we need to place it. We need to put the header at the top, the footer at the bottom, the main, the aside. We need to do the layout so that everything can appear properly on the screen. So that's where Flexbox come in. Before you could have heard that one of the challenge of developer is centering a div. Yes, before it was once a challenge because there was nothing like Flexbox. But with the introduction of Flexbox, you can center a div easily. So in this tutorial, we'll be talking about Flexbox. So beside me here, on my screen here, I have index.html page, and which I've linked with my which I've linked my CSS with this line of code. So this is my style.css. This is my style.css. Why this is my index.html. So what I have here is just a div that I call a container, and I have another div that I call table center. Slightly before, so what I have here now is what do we mean by Flexbox. Let's start. What do we mean by Flexbox? Flexbox is a one-dimensional layout method for arranging items in rows or column. It's one-dimensional because it has to be either row or column. So that's what Flexbox is all about. So now we are still going to talk about grid, which is two-dimensional. It's been our items, the flex item, are either aligned in the row or in column. So it's just one-dimensional. So the main idea behind the flex layout is to give the container the ability to alter its item width and height and order to best fill the available space, mostly to accommodate to all kinds of display device and screen size. Yeah, the main advantage of Flexbox is that if you have a div, if you have a container, a div that contains like let's say 2 or 3 cards. Now, what Flex layout is going to do is that make sure that this card, just what we are seeing on this screen now, this 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that this make sure that this is being aligned, is being arranged, and they are giving space accordingly. So that's what Flexbox is. It can alter the item. That means the item inside the container. It can alter it based on it. It can alter its size. It can alter its height. So we are still going to talk about what we mean by item and what we mean by container as we go along. So Flexbox layout is most appropriate to the components of application and small scale layouts, while grid layout is intended for large scale. So if you are working on a small project, like you want to, you have 2 or 3 cards, you want to have your layouts of HTML layout, just want to have header, footer, something like that. But if you're having a screen, like we are working on, even using Twitter. Twitter, for example, the layout, it can still be done with using Flexbox, excuse me. It can also be done using Flexbox. So that's all about Flexbox. It's a one-dimensional. You need to know that, and it alter the space, it alter the width or the height, even the order, to make sure they best fill the available space. So why do we need Flexbox? Before the Flexbox, there were four layout modules. There are different way of of doing the layout. There are different way of doing layout. We have the block, we have the inline, and we have float, and we have positioning. Just like we know we have block level elements. We have block level elements such as div. Div is a block level element. So that means what I mean by block level is that they occupy the whole width of their container. They occupy the whole width of their container. So for this one, I will have a container here, and we have a div that has a class of table center. So if I right click and open my live server is now offline. Why? So I think I will need to start this again. Okay. So I have this. Now, if you look at this now, I'm having a div. So we just have a div that have a table center, and it has a paragraph inside and a div. Now let's go to our style.css. This our container have this background color. I would like to comment it out for now so that we'll be able to see some things. So you have this div. This is the div we are having. It has this table center. It has a width of 200 and it has a height of 300. The font size we have here is 2rem, and it has this background color we can see here. Now, before the advent of Flexbox, there are different ways we use to center our div. So among them, we are going to look into some. The first one we are going to look like block level elements. We have inline, we have floats. But now I will try to use two methods to center this div. Like now, I want this and a div to come at the center. So there are different ways of doing it. So that's before the advent of Flexbox. Now, the first one we are going to use is table. So if I say display this, if I say here, it should be what? Display table cell. Now, if I say display table cell, that means I want it to I want to vertically align this between here and here. So now I can also give it a vertical align of middle. Now, if I save this, let's see what we have. So we have it here. You can see now, but if you look at it, it's not totally centered at the middle. So one thing that is not making to center is there is a margin on it. So if we have a margin of 0, so it looks better now. Now, if you look at it now, this is not centered. This div is still not centered horizontally. So we can just give it a test align of center. So now we have our div being centered. We have our div being centered. So this is a way of centering a div before. So we have this a div being a center. You can see now this is taking us a long period of centering this of putting this item. We have to do display table cell, vertical align middle. This pain in the neck, and we have to also use text align. So imagine imagine you want to send have a lot of div or have a lot of card we need to center item. We can't keep repeating this. and at a point we are going to we are going to have challenge centering this. So this is one method of what of centering a div. So another one, I'll comment this out. I'll comment this out, and let's go back to our initial. So we have something like this. I can remove this margin. So we have something like this. I don't intend, okay. So we have something like this. Now, what other method can we use to center our div? There are several methods. But now what other method can we use? Another one is we are going to use okay. Now let's change this. Instead of P and a div, let's put it as a div so that we can visualize this better. If I'm putting a div here, or let me just a div here, and I'm giving it a class of inner div. I'm giving it a class of inner div, and I save. I can copy this and I save. So this thing is going to go. If I go here, so we have talked about table. We are now talking about position. Now, if I go here now and I want to, let me give it a width of, let's say, 100 pixels, and height of 100 pixels also. And let me give it a background color of dark. Now we have something like this. We need to center this div. So that we can see visual. Let me reduce it to 50 and 50 pixels. So we need to center this div inside this container. How do we go about it? So using positioning. So in previous classes that you have been taught about positioning. So for you to position something, it has to be relative to the item you have to position have to be absolute to another item. So the one you are going to, the container, or the one you want to position inside will have a position of relative. This one is going to have a position of relative. Why what you want to position must have a position of absolute. So nothing will change because it's related to this one. So it's starting from it's 0. So now what else do we do? There are different methods of using this. So I will try one now, then you can also try one, and try. I will explain the other one. Then if you have challenge doing it, leave a comment in the YouTube video online. So now we have this, but we need to take it to the center. How do we do it? So one thing we can do is, since we have done this, we can just come here and give it a top. That means it should move top, should be 50%. Let's see. So it has moved 50% from the top. So let me have my height should be just be the same so that we'll have it. Yeah, we have moved 50% to the top, and we can also say left also should be what 50%. So it's starting at this edge. So this is the edge here. Is this at this edge that is the center. But if you wanted to, if you look at it now, this is not at the center. So for us to make it to be at the center, there's another property we call transform. Transform now, we are going to translate, and we have to move 50% in minus 50% in horizontal, this x-axis, horizontal axis, and minus 50% in vertical axis. So if you save this, you can see now it's now coming up here. So this is where we have it. So if you look at it now, this look centered. This is one method of this is another method of centering a using a position. This one too is also a pain in the leg. Imagine we have to have top, left, transform to do all these things. It's going to be, if you're having a large project or a complex layout, centering an item will always be a pain in the neck. So it's another method we can also use, which you can try, is instead of this, there is a property called insert. Insert in there's part called insert in CSS. If I say is 0, yeah, do I remove anything? Okay, so our insert here is 0. This is the same thing as saying that okay, I need to remove this. This is what is causing this. Let me just comment it out. Yeah, now it's position here. So our insert just means, for those of you that doesn't know, it means top as 0, top at 0, bottom at 0. It means top at 0, bottom at 0, left. So all the 4 cardinal points, it means they all have to be at 0. So now I would like you to try this. If you are having insert at 0 here, how do we position this to the center? So if we try this, so how do we center this? We know something of called margin. Margin of auto, that means is going to give us, is going to take this to the center. I hope you have guessed, as I've guessed. If I put a margin here of auto, let's see what wow, it center it. So this looks somehow better in centering a div. Just for us to put an insert. Don't forget I said our insert here is let me write it as a comment so you can see. Let me just write it as a comment. Our insert means our top is 0, left is 0, left is 0, right is 0, bottom is 0. That's what it means. Our left is 0. So this is what insert means. So by putting that, we are now telling it to give it a margin. The margin of top should be auto. So it's going to make sure that these things are properly aligned. So these among others are ways of centering div before the advent of Flexbox. But now that we have Flexbox, so it is more easier and flexible to center a div. So now let's start with that here. I'll also comment out all what we have used here. So I can remove, yeah. Let me just comment this out also. I don't want to use a multi-line. And let me comment this out also. So now we are back to this place. We do not need to have our div center using our flex. We do not need to put a position. Now we only need a keyword. We only need a keyword, which is going to be our display to be flex. Now, if you notice now, this doesn't change anything. But if you check our if you inspect our elements here, and we check the you can see now. Oh, sorry, I'm putting the display flex on different thing because we have to put it inside our container, which I'm going to explain, but just to show how flexible this display is using Flexbox. Now, if I put display flex here, now this table center immediately becomes a flex container. So this table center becomes a container. It contains this flex now. Now, if we now write justify content like this, it's going to move into the center. We are still going to come about that. And if you now say align item, we're still going to say center. So now this moves to the center. So this is another way of centering this thing. If you look at it, this is very okay because the API will just consider the width. You don't need to calculate, you don't need to position anything. It automatically calculate the width and the height and position it. So this is the better way of doing a display of flex. So now I'll be collapsing this and I'll be collapsing this now while we move into deeper topic of our Flexbox. So now I'll comment this out. I'll comment this out also. I'll comment it out. Then we have this that we are going to use for our Flex container. Sorry, why am I having this? I can easily delete this and delete this. Then yeah. So we're having something like this now. If you look at it here, what we just have here, let me expand this. And sorry, I think there is some, I don't know if there is some CSS affecting, but I'll just delete all this now so that we can be able to see it better. So we have this. Yeah. Okay. So now, if you look at it, we have this section. Our section is our Flex container. Now, I'm just naming it, this our class is Flex container. Any element that we are going to write display flex on becomes the Flex container. Any item we are going to write it becomes what? The Flex container. So let's check the basic terminology. Our parent element or container, they are called what? Flex container. The item or the children or elements inside a Flex container, they are all called what? Flex item. Now let's stop there and let's go to what we have in our index.html. If you look at this now, this our section here is our container. Now if you look at it, we have an article here. This article, the direct child, the direct child of this Flex container is this Flex article. So we're having 1, 2, 3, 4. We're having 4 Flex items. Why the section here is what we call Flex container. I will comment out some things in CSS so that we can be able to see it better when we reach there. We are going to click. Normally, this is how your CSS, this is how your layout will behave. Because one, this article is a block level. We are having H1 and P tag, they are block level elements. So they occupy the whole space. This section too, this article is also a block level. So they occupy the whole width of the appearance container. Now, we need to what? We need to apply flex to this, Flexbox to this. Now, Flexbox has 2 axes. It has 2 axes, and which I'm going to show you here. It has 2 axes. We have the main axis and the cross axis. The main axis of the Flex container is the primary axis. This our primary axis is the horizontal. For now, for now it's going to be what? Horizontal. Why our cross axis will be what? Will be perpendicular to this. Anything if our main axis is horizontal, then our cross axis will be what? Perpendicular. So our main axis of a Flex, the main axis of a Flex container is the primary axis along which Flex items are laid out. It is not necessarily horizontal. Yes, it can change. It depends on the Flex direction. It depends on the Flex direction. It can change. It depends on Flex direction. It can change. It can change from main. So it depends on the direction. It can change. It can change based on the direction, which we are still going to talk. Why the cross axis? The cross axis can be vertical like this. The cross axis, the axis perpendicular to the main axis, is called the cross axis. So this is what we call CSS CSS grid, CSS trick. So you can check it out. Now if you check this image, this is what we call our main axis. Why this is what we call our cross axis? This is what we call our cross axis. Why this is our main axis? So it's going to get better when we start working on it. But just know that we have our main axis like this and cross axis. Now, if you now go to our CSS, now we have this our Flex container. This is our Flex container. If you apply display of what? Of Flex. if you go to our screen now, what happened? All of them move towards the towards horizontal. So that's what we call, they move towards the main axis. So the first thing, that's why they said here that the main axis is the primary axis. This is the primary axis. When you say display flex, they move towards the primary axis. This is the primary axis in which they are moving into. So now every one of them take what we call something intrinsic, but they take their width, they take especially the width given to them. So now I'm going to, if you check our HTML now, I'm giving each of the item 1, item 2, item 3, item, so we can easily differentiate them. Now I want to comment this, remove the comments here and give them a width. Now, if you look at it now, they are having different width. They are having different width. Well, I would like to shrink this more and give the background, the flex container a background color. Now, if you look at it now, we are having a space. This is where Flexbox perform its magic. After displaying them, after giving them their width as 100%, this is the width. Now there is enough space here, so that one will lead us to more of the CSS terminology. Let me collapse this in, let me expand this a bit. Now if you look at it here, we are saying now because we are in our parent container, now we are working on the parent container. The first property on it is display, which we are just using our display of flex, align them to the primary axis. So we're having 1, 2, 3, 4 aligned together. If they are 100, if I increase this now, if I just I like this and press shift down here and I added 2, that's what we have. You can see now, no matter how they are, Flexbox will ensure that it make them to be on the same, on this primary axis as much as it can. He will make sure that he let them to be on this axis. So that's that. Let me remove that so that we are back to this. So that's it. So they are now all together on this main axis. So another property we also have is flex direction. Flex direction can be row reverse, column reverse. So let's see that in action. So if I go to the, because we are still on the container, if I say our flex direction should be column. You can see now instead of them moving along this horizontal, now they are now moving vertical. Now when we now say that our flex direction is column, if you notice when the flex direction default is row, let me start with that. The default here is row, they move like this, flex direction is row. So if you put row, it doesn't affect it. But if I change it to column, just like I did before, it will align it on you stack them on each other. Yes, it is going to stack them on each other like this. Now our primary axis now becomes this our previous cross axis. So our primary axis is like this now, while our cross axis is like this. We will see that in action when we are doing justified content. But know that now that this the most important thing you should know is that they align in flex item will align according to their primary axis. Now, since we have changed this flex direction to the column, so definitely our primary axis is now vertical like this, while our cross axis is like this. So it's not fixed. So that's why in my text here, I said it is not necessarily horizontal. Don't just think that main axis have to be horizontal. It is what? It depends on flex direction property. Now that our flex direction here is now column, so our primary axis is now vertical, while our cross axis is now horizontal. So we have this. Now we also have our row reverse. This now we can have our row reverse. It's just reverse it. Now, instead of starting from 1, it's starting from 4. So we have 4, 3, 2, 1. So Now you can guess also that if you have our column reversed to, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's that about our flex direction. The next thing we are still also going to talk about is our flex wrap. Flex wrap is just to tell the flex container what is going to do if the items in the container, there are many. Is it going to keep squeezing them, or is going to give them wrap them to the next line? When it's shrinking them, it will not be affecting their weight. For example, now if I had like 2 more articles here, I see. Now let me comment out. Let's just our flex direction should just be row. Now, if you look at it here, these 4, 5 articles keep taking the same space. But if you look at it, the flex container is not honoring their width now. It's not honoring it because it has to keep shrinking it because of the space. If I had 2 more, if I also had 2 more like this, 1, 2, see, you keep putting every one of them inside. That's one beauty about flex container. You keep putting them inside this same container by shrinking them. But if you look at it now, as we keep adding more items, the thing keeps shrinking, and to get to a level that won't be able to shrink. So what should we take the flex container? The default value for our flex wrap is no wrap. That's just our default. So nothing will happen. But once we say wrap, then it's not giving each and every one of them their expected width. It's not giving them their width. Now, once you give them their width, then we will now check if this space will not be enough for this article 3, so it's now wrapping it. This space is not going to be enough for this, so it's now wrapping it. That's why we're having this space like this. So if we check the document here, when you are giving a flex wrap, it's just to ensure that there is space between the documents. So now flex wrap, by default, we all try to fit into one line. They will just want to fit into one line. So you can change that and allow the item to wrap as needed with this property. So the default value, we can use wrap, and we can use wrap reverse. Sorry. So if we do wrap reverse now, this article 33, this one, they are the one coming up, while article 1 and 2 are the one at the bottom. So if I go back to my index of statement, I need to undo too small. One to be this. So yeah, these are the 3 items we have in the container. So that's all about flex wrap. So most especially, you will need to wrap, like if you're having like this inside this container, you're having like 4 inside it, like card, then you need for it to wrap so that you can take the 100% of their weight. So the next one is flex flow. Flex flow is a shortcut for flex direction and flex wrap. So if we go here now on the container, instead of writing this, you can see our flex flow is, you can put the direction here is row, sorry, and wrap reverse. So now it's same thing. If I comment this out, see nothing changed. But if I say column here, you see they are now at the column. They are now stacked on top of each. They are not stacked on top of each other. So that's about first flow. You can just say wrap. You can say wrap here. So it will align, because default value, as we said, default value is align item to the to flex stats. So it's going to align them to the flex start, as we can see here. So now, apart from that, we are going to move to justify content. This is the interesting part of the Flexbox, that this is property that you are going to be using every time. Because now let's just first start with the rule to be direction. Now our main axis is horizontal like this. It's no longer our main axis is horizontal like this. You can see now there are spaces here now. This spaces is left. So what do we want it to be? How do you want this item to be? The first thing is our justify content. Our justify content default value is flex start. Everything would align at the start. But let me just give it that flex end instead of flex start. You can see they align in the across the main axis at the end. Then I can just give it also a center. If I give it a center like this, both of them will align, and then the space will be distributed by their side. I can also give it other value space around. It will give equal space between the item. Then the remaining space is going to distribute it at the edge. So we can also have space evenly. You can see the space here is as this way, space here, and we can ask space space between two, to just take all of them as between, so distribute the space between them. So that's what we mean by justify content. Now, as we said earlier, justify content they align item along the main axis. This because this here we are having our row here. We are having our row here. So this is where our main axis is horizontal like this. That's why this thing is working like this. But let's assume that we change this one to column, and let's see what we are going to happen. Now, if we change to column, we can see all of them are having, because this is column. Now this now our main axis. This vertical one is now our main axis. So now if I give it this container an height of 90 VH, let me give you a height of 90. So you can see now they are now, from what we are saying space between. This is space between. Now let's continue with other space around. Now you can see now there is this small space around. If you give it space evenly, now it will distribute equal. And so these are our main axis now. These are our cross axis. So, and what other one? You can give it flex start or flex end. So if you are going here, say flex end, all of them will move to the end. And we can also give it flex start, all of them will move to the start. So because what the direction here is column. If our direction is row, then this is how they are going to be. Because justify content is what is flex start. Then we give it our flex end there. It's going to move to the end. They are stretching across. So we are going to reach there. Now that's all about justify content. Align content to align item along the cross axis. Now we are on row. Now these are our main axis. Then these are our cross axis. This vertical one is our cross axis. Now the default value is for align items is stretch. The stretch to occupy the container. They will stretch it. But now let me give it, if I say align items should be here, should be center. These are the basic things we're going to use just like content align item. Now it's now moving all of them to the what? To the center. It's giving them their width. Before they are stretching, they are occupying the 100% of the height. But now they are just taking their normal width and other things. Then they are taken to the center. Now if I say just align item should be flex end. So you can see all of them is coming there. We can say flex start. And we can say just like before, we can say everything should be moving to the center. So this one too, if we are saying the center here, then that means that the item, they will now be placed equally. You can see here the space here is just the same space here, and this one here is just the space here. So now if let's assume this one too, this align item too, we assume it is on column. Now if it's on column like this, let's don't forget that this is now our main axis. This is now our cross axis. So now align item now is center. We can say should be space between should be space around. Let's start with that. Now it's going to give, because this align item, sorry, this align item, because now our direction here is column, because we are saying our direction here is column. This is now our main axis. This is now our main uh this is now our main axis. So we are now saying space. This is now our main axis. Yeah, this is our main axis now, and this is our what? This is our cross axis. Now, if you say you should move align item to the center, now it's going to move them to this center. If you say to flex end, it's going to move them to this flex end. Then if you say our flex starts, it's going to move them according to our flex start. This is because this our align item works along our cross axis, and our cross axis here is like this. So if we give it to the center, it will move it down. It will move it down to this place. So if you say our align item here should be center like this, then to move it to this place. So we have to fully understand what we mean by the main axis and what we mean by the cross axis. This is one of the challenges I personally faced when I was learning. Flexbox. I didn't really take cognizance of the flex direction, and it really affects, and it can be so frustrating at times that you have to start practicing all the properties, which is not supposed to be so. Just know that your direction is where your main axis is. If your direction is your main direction is in horizontal, and if your direction is column, your main axis is vertical. So away from that, so we're having this. We have a line item. We have a line. The default is straight center, flex end, and baseline. Now we can also have gap. Now I would like to change this to 0. That's what we have. Then now, if I say we have a row gap and we have a column gap, as we know, this is our row and this is our column. Now let's say our column gap, let's say is 30 pixels. You can see, because these are our column now, the space between them is 30 pixels. And now, so if we now change this to column, now we have this. Then we can have a row gap also. We can have our row gap here. Our row gap here is 30 pixels. So now there is space in the row. I can just comment on this. There's space in the row. So now, but there is the shortcut is if we give it a gap, it's going to give it. But if you give it, you can see it visibly. If we give it a direction here of row, so you can see it now giving this gap here of 10 and 30 pixels. And give it as 10 pixels to reduce the space between there. Then that doesn't mean that you can just our justify contents with space between. Everything will still work as intended. So that's all about properties on the flex container. On the flex item, we also have some properties similar to that of the flex container. The first one is flex grow. Now, I'm going back to my documents here. Let me remove the gap. Now, and let's just, everything should be center. Let's center everything like this now. Now, as we earlier said, flex container help us to distribute this space. Now we are now telling our flex grow is going to tell us, flex grow means that it should take out of the expense, out of this space, it should take a particular fraction of it to himself. Now by default, if I go to the document here, by default, our flex grow is 0. This defines the ability of a flex item to grow if necessary. It dictates the amount of the available space inside the flex container the item should take up. So it's going to determine which space is going to take up. Now, this is our flex one. Now, these are the space remaining now. So if we say we should take a flex one, then it's going to take all the space. Now you can see now our flex one is now the one taking all the space. Now if we say 2, you can see now the space now is taking more. It's taking more. If this one, if I put this like this now, you can see now it's taking twice, it's taking more twice of the space available. Now let me shrink it like this. If I give this one to a flex of 2, is to take the available space, and also now if you look at it now, let me expand this. If you look at now, it's having this a flex of 2, while this one is having a flex of 0. That's the default. Yeah, that's the default. So flex grow is just to tell the flex grow is just to tell how the items want to take more space available. So now if we remove this, that is after their width. They have to take the space after their width. For example, now if I'm removing this, now this is the item, this is the space. It is this space from here to here, that this one, if I put it, I'll flex here to be 1. That means you take the available space, then it's going to add these 2 spaces here for him. So that does it. Yeah, that's just what we have here. So others are having, they are just taking their width. Now, if you say our flex grow here, no, I want us to be using, we are doing flex grow, don't let me use shortcuts. Our flex grow here, I don't want our flex grow here, let's say it should be 3. Let's see what we have on the screen. Now you can see now it's taking 3 times of the space available. After taking, everybody taking the available, taking his own width of 200, 100, and something like that. Then this one is now taking 3 times, while this one is taking 2 times. So that's why it's going to be like that. We also have let's shrink. As we are moving the item like this, it is growing. When it's expanding, is what we mean by growing. Now, this is an example. Now it's growing here now, so it's expanding here. We are shrinking it like this, while it's expanding like this. So now, first it is the ability for a flex item to shrink. Now, from all the flex items, they have 1, so they shrink accordingly, like they shrink uniformly. So the way this one is shrinking is the one the other one too will shrink. This one the one will shrink. Now, if suppose this one that have a flex grow, and we just give it a flex shrink of 2. Now, if we expand this now, if we expand this now and we are coming like this, if you notice, this one will shrink more. Let me just give it a flex of no wrap. Now let's go back and check again. Now our item 2 is taking, our item 2 is the one taking, why is this like this? So now, can we see this item 2 is the way it's moving, it is large, but if you see the way it's decreasing, it's not in tandem with others, it's decreasing more than them. So that's what we mean by flex shrink. The way the item shrink, we can tell one to shrink faster than the other. So that's what we mean by flex shrink. So the other what we have here is what we mean by flex basis. Flex basis is just like the width of the item. Instead of giving it a width of 150, if I give it a flex basis of 150, it's still going to be the same. So flex basis is just like the width of a flex item. So instead of setting the width, it's more better you select the flex basis because they are flex item. So now, flex basis, just like we said, what is going to do, what like here is going to look at the value we give it to him, and that's what it's going to give. If we don't give it, so what we have here is that what we have here is this. Our flex basis is one. If you are not giving any of them the flex basis, it will just give them an auto. It will just give them it will just assume, give them a random, an intrinsic value. So we just consider it will just consider the content, and to give them the value. Like this one now, it's called, this is the content of this article 2. Then it take its space that as an auto. Then other space will be divided. This one has a flex growth of 3. So item 2. Yeah. So it has a flex growth of 3 and have a flex shrink of 3. So an item 1 has a flex growth of this. So now if I comment this out now, so they all have. So now this one, now item 1 now take the whole space of it, because the space is, they are giving auto, they are taking the whole space of it. But if you are giving a flex basis like this of 150, and we are giving something like this also, then it's going to first consider the width we give to them. Then there is now going to take the space, just like this. It's consider the width we give to them. This is the width we give to this one. Then it will just give them based on that. Then this one, the available space, and the other items that have the flex will take it. So that's how we go about this. So instead of deleting, I can just comment it down so you can follow along. Yeah. So the other one is, we also have the shortcut that we call flex. And flex stands for flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. If you don't forget, we said our flex, when we say our flex grow, if we want this one to be 1, then our shrink is supposed to also be 1. They should shrink appropriately. Then if you want our flex basis, now our flex basis here is 150 pixels. So this one and this one are, so it's just, yeah, because we can't, because this one will not be, it's not going to be like this. Yes. So we have 150 pixels. So this how this one goes. This taking a flex of 1, but the default value is taking a flex of 0. They're taking the flex of 0. That's the default value. So, but if you take it to 1, that means it should go and take the space, take almost the space. So that's how we are going to usually do the flex flex. So this one now is just the same thing as saying our flex here. You can say 1, you can say it should decrease twice, then 250 pixels. Then it's just the same. So when this one is also growing, but when it's shrinking, it shrink twice the others. It shrink twice the others. So that's about item 2 or something. Item 2. Now going to the second to the last one, we have order in which we want them to be arranged. Let's assume our item 2. Let's give it an order of 3. Let's see what we have. Now you can see now our item 2 have now moved to the last item here. So we have to be careful when we are using this order, because it doesn't change for screen reader. They are going to see this as 1, 2, and 3. But what you want them to see is 1, 3, and 2. So you have to be careful if you have to consider the screen reader. And when we are navigating by tab, the tab will just see this one as 1, 2, 3. But whereas we are using 1, 3, 2. So we have to consider how we are going to be using order, so that it won't affect other users' experience. So the last one we have here is the flex align cell. Align cell is for the item. Then now, all of them are aligned to the center. Now, if I said align cell This one should just align himself to baseline. Let's see what we have. So this is our baseline. Now that's same thing as this. Now let's say it's aligned to our flex end. So it's going to move to this end. So we can say this one, this item 2 should um, align self to center. To align self to center. So this one will be like this. Why this one? Align self. It should be this aligns. Let's see our flex start. That's item 3. Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. Because now, because we have changed the order, that's why like this. But now let me just, if I remove this, this is what I want. This is exactly what I want. So that's all about it. If you have, so that comes to the end. I think we have been able to go through all different proper terminology and property of Proton Flex item and Flex container. So if you have any question or if you have something that is ambiguous to you, leave a comment in the YouTube comment section and I will look through and I will respond to it. Or you can send me a message on Slack, which I will be glad to respond. Let me know how you feel about this tutorial and how explanatory is it to you. So until we have the next class, I'm wishing you all the best and I'm wishing you the best day with Zuri. Thank you.